Hi everyone, I'm Maddie, and today we're going to be talking about SQL for CS 1501, which is also CSC 3950 for Unit 3.1. So I'm going to go over the agenda for today. I'm going to talk about what is SQL. Then we're going to go into SQL statements and then more advanced SQL statements. And then we'll talk a little bit about SQL injection. And then there's going to be a separate video for a SQL demo, so you can go through and see other cool functionalities of SQL. And then we're going to talk about your activity, and then we're going to go through further research you could do if you want to learn more. So what is SQL? SQL is structured query language, and so it's domain specific, meaning that it only works on relational databases, and it's not really for general purpose programming like we do every day, like in Java, C, or C++, or Python. But it includes the ability to process sets of data, so querying data, getting information from the tables, updating rows in the table, creating, replacing, altering, and dropping objects, and so much more. It's a very powerful language. Now let's dive into some SQL statements. So for this example, for all these statements, let's just think about a car database. So you would create table car with table info like the make, the model, or the year, and so on. And then you can drop the table car if you don't want it anymore. But be careful with this command because once you drop it, you cannot get it back. And then you can alter table columns by altering table name, which would be car, and you can add or remove, you can add color, or you can remove color, or you can remove year. And then you can insert rows into a table by doing insert into car with values for, you can do make equals Honda, model equals Civic, year equals 2016, and color equals blue. And then you can delete a column from the table by doing delete from car, where color equals blue. So you can delete all those instances of the rows where the car is blue, or the color of the car is blue. And then you can update a row by doing update car set color equals purple, where color equal, or where model equals Civic. So you can make all the cars, or all the cars that have a model of a Civic into purple cars. And then you can do select star or table columns from car. So select star will select all the columns in the table, and then, or you can like select certain ones. For example, you can do select make model from car where color equals purple. So you can get all the, you can get the make and the model of the cars that have the color purple. Now let's move on to advanced SQL statements. So for joins, you can join on two tables and get information from either table. So let's say you had a student database and then you had a school database. So if you join on the table, you can get maybe seeing which students are in which course, because you'll have that from the student. You'll have the student from the student databases and the courses from the school database or the classes database. And so all these are which one it takes priority over. So a left join will take priority on the left table. And so then that would be the same with the right table, will be priority of the right table. So that's what's shown above with A and B. And then an inner join is kind of like a Venn diagram. It's just the stuff that they both share. And then you can do we don't really do a lot of full outer joins, but you can do that as well. But I feel like the main one that I'm not really seeing right here is a natural join, which just gives you can just join the two tables together, and it's basically like they are together for that moment, and then you can get information that you need. And then we also have aggregates. So you can select an aggregate function from average, count, max, min, or sum. So let's say, for example, you have a bank account database and you want to get the sum of the deposits you've made. So you would do select account ID, aggregate function of deposits from bank account table, and then group by the account ID. And so the reason why you group by and so you want to group by something that's not what you're aggregating, so that when it shows you the information, it can show you by your account ID the sum of the deposits that you have made. So now let's move on to SQL injection. So this is a little bit different than what we've been talking about. Now this is the application of SQL in a security context. So basically a SQL injection is a security exploit in which an attacker adds SQL to a web form input to gain access to unauthorized information or make changes to sensitive data. And so you can prevent this attack by doing input validation, so making sure that they're just putting in the right like the right string, or like if it's a username, so the right string, instead of putting in other SQL code, injecting other SQL code that you don't really want. And there's some common tactics that people use. And then you can also limit database permissions, so making sure that your users can't update important databases that are integral to the website. And so an example of this is below. So usually the select from will be select from users where user ID equals Bob and password equals password, right? And so, I mean, that's not a great password. But instead, if you injected the user ID is having a quote or 1 equals 1, and then putting the password as is below, you can actually bypass even needing to have a login to even get into the website and access the server. Because or 1 equals 1 will always be true and will allow you into it. And then, so this is important because let's say you have a really sensitive data. So like, let's say you're a bank website and you don't check for this, then people can gain access to other people's money and take it. And this is something that we don't want. So thankfully, security is put into place to prevent that from happening. So let's go and talk about your demo. So there's gonna be a demo video using MySQL Workbench. And that will go through different types of SQL that I talked about in the video, but it'll actually show you what happens when you actually implement the SQL commands. And then you'll also use this tool for your activities. So it'll be really important to look at the demo, and then you can apply it to a movie database for your activity. And then these will both be posted on the course website. So happy SQL coding. So some further research, so you can learn more about SQL, as it's a really powerful language for data, and you can see how it's used in the industry because it's definitely widely used across, especially the tech industry. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching.